Hello, everyone, and welcome to Ward Up, a Friday show every Friday at 6 p.m. Pacific. Was standard time. Now it's actually PDT Pacific Daylight Time. My name is Joshua Quest, and again, weekly show trying to condense everything that happens within Collegiate League of Legends on the week during the week and bring it to you again condensed form on the Friday show here. And I always do have a guest with me. This time, very excited. As you all know, I am an Ohio State University fan. You can go look at my Twitter, twitter.com/Fekez, and see the banner. It is OSU. And I just happen to have the manager of their Esports League of Legends team, Shady Bacon. Hello. How's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going good. In playoffs, so that's always nice.
Yeah, you're in playoffs and actually undefeated. And so I just transitioned camera. If anyone's wondering why I actually don't have usually I have a webcam here. His computer decided to update, Windows update. So we're gonna do this from his phone. And thank you very much for pulling out that to make that work. Um, yeah, let's go and get it right into it. So yeah, you're undefeated, 7-0 in the Big Ten East Conference, only being rivaled right now by University of Illinois in the Big Ten West Conference. They're also 7-0. I mean, considering you guys have some pretty good stats going behind you right now, you have the highest kill count, along with the highest kill individual KDA for Dare to Defy, and that's actually on both of those, and also the top team KDA overall. Was this sort of start what you expecting coming into the season, or have you guys just sort of got your footing as you were going and you just not stopped?
I wouldn't say that was expected. I mean, there's a bunch of really good teams in the Big Ten Conference. You got Maryland, you got Michigan State, who's looking really strong this year, and obviously you got Michigan. I
Right.
mean, you got all the other teams, but like I kind of just want to focus on the playoffs teams. Most of them, like, they're the standout teams, obviously there. And so, I mean, we hadn't been Michigan until like just this year, and like I guess playoffs of last year. But I mean, Maryland, we also hadn't really had too much luck against until like earlier in the fall semester. But I mean, pulling out a 7-0, I wouldn't say we weren't expecting it, but I mean, we were obviously that's what we were aiming to do, and so it was super like awesome to be able to achieve that through the regular season.
And do you feel like the competition is just like about the same as last year? Because I think the only one of the big differences was Penn State. I mean, they weren't in there last year. There wasn't really much from them this year either. So I know you have a relatively different roster, but other than that, was there any sort of changes you made from last year to this year to accelerate things, or is it just sort of a different playing field? And of course, the meta does change as well, and it's just kind of favoring you guys, and you're comfortable in a spot right now.
Yeah, I'm not really too sure like what's going on with that because I mean you look at a roster like this year on paper it's not as good as like our roster last year. Like last year's roster we had a challenger jungler. This year we have a diamond jungler.
Hmm.
Last year we had Dare playing AD carry and we had Peridot in mid. Peridot challenger tier mid, Dare challenger tier mid, but also like a master tier AD carry.
Right.
And so like this year we have like a diamond slash master tier AD carry. So I mean, you look at the roster on paper, and it shouldn't be like as good. But I think a lot of the other teams are also like had a step down. I know Michigan, uh, like they didn't have Isn't Creole is it Creole. I'm trying to pronounce that right. Like in the top lane until just recently they had Gen, and now Gen's in the jungle. And so they also had like they had Rhubarbs last year. It was a fantastic.
Right.
So I think some of the like skill level in the Big Ten probably went down this year slightly, but I think like overall in collegiate, like some of the skill went down a little simply because more of the players have been getting pulled into like the LCS or now the not Challenger Series, but the Academy
Okay.
teams
Yeah.
that all the esports teams have.
Yeah, and I actually want to talk to you a little bit, not so much about LCS or academy teams, but more like, I mean, I don't know how much of a factor is any players transferring to a college that offers scholarships or anything like that, but this does pertain to you being in the Big Ten. Yeah, what were your thoughts on the Big Ten being a collegiate conference for Riot's League of Legends tournament here? Was it something you were looking forward to, excited about? I mean, because I mean, there is a big contention. I mean, you guys are guaranteed money. That's really cool, but at the same time, you do lose out on a lot of things. So, is it something you're still kind of keen on? Were you excited about it before, or do you wish you were still? Do you wish you were branched off into those other conferences because you guys do miss out on a lot of other competition outside of the Big Ten?
Yeah, I'm not too gutted about like not being able to face like some of the teams because we get to like if they're around our skill level and they're willing to scrim us, we'll just hit them up for like a scrim, so
Hmm.
to say. Like, so like a lot of the teams that we face, I mean, we faced Simon Fraser in a couple of scrims, we faced UCI in a couple of scrims like over winter break. So we get to scrim like the high level teams, so it's not too much about missing like that level of competition. Like obviously, we'd love to be able to face like Columbia College. So I guess like that's the one thing that we're missing out on. We have to go through like the wild card stage and all that, just
Yeah.
to get a chance to play them. Uh, but like outside of like that, I mean, I was super excited when I first heard that they were announcing the Big Ten like conference because it was the first one. You have like the North, South, East, and West, and then they decided to contact the Big Ten. I don't want to. I don't think it's necessarily a partnership, but they wanted specifically there to be a Big Ten conference for League of Legends, and that was awesome. Especially nice because like that scholarship money is guaranteed, and I mean some like places might look at it less like fighting for like that scholarship money, like less incentive. But I mean, we don't want to lose to like anyone. We want to make it out to like nationals. We want to win the championship. Like that's the overarching goal of like everything is to like get that title. And I mean, I think the Big Ten conferences it has a lot of the best teams, and it's like kind of disappointing that more of them don't get to go into that wild card stage because I think a lot of them would actually qualify and knock out some of those like secondary teams from like the other conferences to make it to nationals.
Yeah, I know there's a so yeah, for anyone watching, if you haven't gathered like or watching the past episodes, the conferences are the North, South, East, and West. The winners of those conferences do go on to the championships, and then the runners up go into the play-ins. And I believe the Big Ten, you guys just go to play-ins to fight to go into the championship. Is that correct?
Yes, so pretty much you have the Western Conference playoffs, the Eastern Conference playoffs.
Yeah.
We have to win two best of threes, and then we face whoever wins the two best of threes. Whoever gets makes it, whoever wins like the Eastern Conference, and those two teams will face for the championship for the Big Ten, which is kind of like a separate title from I guess the national title because two teams that make it to the final for the Big Ten conference match, they go into the wild card. They don't get an automatic
Right.
spot in the national championship like they did last year with Maryland.
So
So
whenever you
that's a bit unfortunate.
Yeah, and actually, I believe Maryland was actually the one to advance last year, and then it just kind of fell up short. Obviously, OSU trying to do a
Yeah.
little bit different this year because again, you guys are 7-0, so that's actually a really good start for the going into everything right now. Now, with that being said, you go into playoffs. Obviously, I mean, again, 7-0. You guys have great stats to back you up right now. You guys haven't played your playoffs. I believe they start tomorrow. I believe. No, no, no. Your guys start in April. Was that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
We so our playoffs it's Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So it's
Oh,
there's no break. There's no time to like pretty much practice ahead of time,
yeah.
or I guess after like we beat a team. It's just you got to match the next day against this team because they won. So
Yeah.
that's a bit crazy. And unfortunately, we faced Michigan in the first round, and we faced Michigan in the first round of the playoffs last year, and we pulled that huge upset because the regular season last year we went 2-3. Penn State wasn't in it last year, unfortunately, because their university held them out of it.
Right.
So there was only five. Yeah, there were six teams in it, but we only played five because obviously we can't play ourselves. And so we went 2-3 in Michigan. They were undefeated in the regular season. And the first round of playoffs, we beat them 2-1. And there was that whole craziness. So hopefully that the reverse of that does not happen this year because I will never hear the end of it where
Yeah.
we go undefeated. Michigan goes into like the fourth seed, and then they beat us in the first round of playoffs.
Although that is the beauty of it, though, because you guys are, I mean, obviously, outside, anyone who's familiar with the NCAA, outside of Collegiate League of Legends, anything like that, Michigan and Ohio State, they have a very intense rivalry that dates way, way back. I forget the year. I covered it last year, but I mean, something like that. I mean, just the coincidental kind of reverse like again last year, like where University of Michigan did really well, and then you guys came back and beat them in the playoffs. Well, that chance might happen this year too. That's creating a rivalry as well. Really enjoy that sort of thing. That's actually one of the reasons why I'm really into the Big Ten. And I know, like I said, some people you mentioned earlier, people think that maybe it's like a little bit degraded or watered down. I'll say because you already get the scholarship money. But yeah, no one wants to lose. So anyone who's watching, keep that in mind. And speaking of not wanting to lose, that means whenever you go into playoffs, I mean, and if you do go, you want to practice for playoffs, obviously, but the object is to get into play-ins and then to championships. And that is something that I wanted to ask you about as well, because you were talking about you do scrim with other teams, but some teams, if you can't scrim with them and you might have a potential to play against them, what do you do? Considering you're not in the four conferences to keep up with that and to to scrim each other on a regular basis like some of the other teams do. How do you scout other teams in the conferences that have potential to go in to the playoffs or not the playoffs, the play-ins that you again potentially may have to face?
Outside of like the teams that we don't scrim, or
Right. Yes.
yeah. um, well, I mean, there's usually some type of like league or tournament that they're facing in, like outside of just that.
Okay.
So obviously, we'll go back and we'll watch the video for that. But we are familiar with these teams because most of them we've either played in the past, or we've at least are familiar with like the players and how they like to play. So obviously, that's something that is highly discussed. I mean, just looking at kind of their champ pool and stuff that they're playing when they're not like practicing with their teams. Like one of our players will spend hours like scourging around. He'll find every account that they've ever played on, like even if you've never even heard of it. It could have been made like the day prior, and he'll know about it. Like there's no getting around it. So,
uh,
um,
well, go on.
there's not too much like outside of just reviewing like the tape that we can find, or like outside of past scrim knowledge that we have on them.
Okay. And I was wondering how people view you, because they have to study the Big Ten, and there's even less material in the Big Ten because none of the games are actually broadcasted until the play-in. So I was actually curious about from your point of view, because you're actually the first person from the Big Ten, actually the first person outside of the four main quadrants of the conferences that I've had to actually interview. So I know some of these questions may seem a little bit remedial, but I was just in general curious because, again, first time I've actually got to ask. I could gather and venture for some guesses, but I do like to be sure on all that. But I do want to take a step back from the Rift for a little bit. Did talk about earlier how OSU and Michigan, they are a rivalry. And I've actually talked to Michigan's players before. Tony, actually, from last year. He's not on the team anymore, but I did get to talk to him quite a bit last year just about the kind of support that Michigan gets. And it's not a huge, overwhelming support from their college. And it's not very good for an investment in the future of a better team because I mean, yeah, other teams are going to go to scholarship teams. What is OSU's support of your collegiate League of Legends team?
There's a definite interest outside like for support. I mean, they give us what they can within like the guidelines of like a bunch of legal jargon that I'm not allowed to like really get into and that I don't really
Sure.
understand because I mean we're an NCAA team, so it's like okay, how much support can they give us without breaking like whatever guidelines of amateurism and stuff that's in there? And because we're not an official like club sport, we're just we have like the club ESI, and then the team is kind of like a branch off of that. That's kind of like we work with them, and then we kind of do our own thing. Uh, but I mean, there's definitely like talks with athletics and other people at OSU on like what support they can give us, and also working to like maybe move things along to having it be uh, university official, so to say.
Hmm.
But I mean, I don't really know like what else to like say about that
No,
without getting possibly getting in trouble.
yeah, no. I don't want to risk that whatsoever. So yeah, don't overstep your bounds on that one. But it is a curiosity because again, some of these teams, they or definitely the schools, they're huge outside of collegiate League of Legends, but then or just collegiate esports in general. But then you get to esports and they haven't quite got there yet. So, I mean, that is something to look forward to in the future because, again, scholarship schools are getting the better talent, well, because they offer money to play, and that is something you have an advantage of being into the Big Ten conference. But again, it is something to maybe think about in the future. At least, I mean, obviously not you. You already know, but if any of the faculty is watching this or anything like that, might be something to look into. But I do want to talk about no,
Yeah,
OSU is a big
I
school.
mean,
What
I
go
would
on?
also like I would like to just say though, like I mean, a lot of the faculty are like starting to become aware, and
Hmm.
I mean they like the idea and they're very supportive. Like when we tell them like what we're doing and stuff. So I mean, I want to give them credit there. I
Sure,
mean, they're always looking for like ways to help us and stuff.
that's awesome, and I'm really happy to hear that because again, like it was kind of bleak talking to Tony about University of Michigan, and I was really sad about that. But it is nice hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is nice hearing
Well,
whenever schools.
hopefully hearing that stuff's going on at Ohio State, possibly maybe Michigan.
Yeah, yeah,
Give them a little kick to do something.
they do like to rival
Because
you guys.
if we beat them to the punch, they'll never hear the end of it. So
Very much so. That is the 15 minutes up right now. I do want to go and close this one out and just say that OSU, you guys do have a very, I mean, it's a large campus, very nationally recognized. So talent is more than likely going to be there, but you will have to contend with those other teams for now, unless you guys keep it the Big Ten. I don't know how that future is with that, but I do look forward to more of that, just to give a little bit more talent over to the Big Ten rosters, and especially again you guys, University of Michigan, because I mean you're all really nice people. So I do want the best of fortunes for all of you, of course. Is there anything you'd like to say in closing? Any shout outs you want to give? Anything of this sort?
I would like to say thanks to like all the players for like practicing, keeping up with their schoolwork and stuff. Shout out to like Dare to Defy, Arun. Gosh, I'm gonna forget their names. Remind me, Rebby, Bacon Seeker, the Comus, D Nice, and Peter, of course, our coach. I mean, you can check us in the playoffs. That I think they will be on the BTN website. I know all playoffs are going to be broadcasted.
Okay.
I'm not exactly.
I'm pretty sure it's the BTN Twitch, at least the Twitch channel. I think Riot actually has a BTN channel.
Oh, they have a BTN. Okay. All right. Well,
somebody there's a BTN channel. I remember it from last year, and I think they're just going to use that again.
Okay. Well, if you want to check out any of our matches, we will tweet them out. I know you've used the ESI_OSU one, but we have. I'll announce it now. We have the OSU Esports one on Twitch that has everything OSU esports related. It has our league team, our PUBG team, our Rocket League, our CS:GO, and I'm trying to, Overwatch went. Yeah. Well, Overwatch, yeah. Well, thanks Blizzard, but yeah. Hopefully, we'll have some Overwatch games in the future.
I have all the faith in the world in OSU and you, Shady Bacon. Thank you so much for being on here. And yeah, of course, I'll be tweeting out about the Big Ten Twitch as well, or any of the matches, even though I'm not casting them until the play-ins. I will be keeping my eyes on them as much as possible. Shady, thank you so much for being on here.
Yep, thank you for having me.
No problem, man. Have a great day, and good luck in the playoffs.
Yep.
See us. All right, so very excited to have Shady Bacon on here. Again, it's first person from the Big Ten, first person outside of the Northwest, East, and South Conference. Even from last year, I never had anybody outside of those conferences on here, so I'm really happy about that. And of course, I am an OSU diehard fan. I tried not to let it get to me there, and I tried to be professional. I think I did. I think I did all right. But yeah, very awesome interview on that one. I do want to get into the topics here. You see, I'm just going to break down all the conferences. I'm going to go into various stats, not too deep into numbers. I mean, obviously, I haven't watched all of the games because not all of them were broadcasted, things like that. But this may go a little bit over the 30-minute mark as far as the overall show. Just bear in mind, I will be going through everything as much as possible. If I skip over something, I am sorry. It is just to save time. But we're going to go and get started with the South Conference playoffs. It'll be Texas A&M versus George Mason for one of the semifinals, and UTD, University of Texas Dallas versus University of Texas Austin for the second semifinal. We're going to go up to Texas A&M versus George Mason. Texas A&M, they beat Georgia State to get to the spot, and then George Mason beat NCSU, in which some people may consider an upset. NCSU, they were very popular last year. They had a lot of momentum, especially coming into this season. They had a lot of the same roster, and unfortunately just did not make it work out in the end in the quarterfinals. But they did at least make it that far. Congratulations to them on that. But that is the end of the run for them. They did get beat out by George Mason. And over on the other side of the brackets, University of Texas Dallas did beat University of North Texas, and University of Texas Austin did beat Virginia Tech to get into the semifinals. And this is actually going to be really interesting because University of Texas Dallas actually look very dominating as far as the stats provided by Battlefy are concerned. They have a 6.1 team KDA. Johns and Keene have the top two player KDAs, with Johns having 22 and Keene having 9, which is that's a big gap, but a huge props to Johns for being able to bridge that gap and still make just a giant push in the Southern region there. They also have the least deaths in the playoffs with 2 and 5, that being Johns and Keens as well. So again, they especially the Johns, he does get the obviously gets the kills, but also doesn't die. But yeah, we're going to go over to X Case, also, who has the most kills at 33 and the highest gold per minute at 463. 463 gold per minute is a freaking huge. That's pretty freaking huge. So that's going to be really interesting to watch. Texas A&M, they've always been, kind of the I won't say dominant champions in the Southern region, but they have been the more consistent champions in the Southern region. I mean, obviously champions. They've been champions for a lot of different things. Back years ago, the Azubu the Azubu Challenge, the Azubu tournament that was put together, obviously produced by Azubu, hosted by us, CSL. Texas A&M won that years ago. I think that was like 6 years ago. They also won, I think, the first NC. It's NACC, yeah, because it's not the NCAA, obviously. It's the NACC, the Riot's first iteration of the Collegiate Championships, North American Collegiate Championships, I think it was called. NACC. Got it. Yeah, they were the Southern Region winners there as well. I think they won the next one after that. They won last year, I believe, as well, and they're in the running to win this year as well. But University of Texas Dallas, they have some, as far as stats are concerned, they look very scary, but they have to get through University of Texas Austin first, and yeah, it's gonna be a hell of a match. Again, these will be played throughout the entire week. Still, you know, like, yeah, throughout the entire week, the dates aren't completely set in stone for every team. You don't like Shady mentioned, for the for the Big Ten tournament, the Big Ten playoffs. They're going to be Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And they're a little bit more leniency on the conference for on the main four conferences. So not everyone will be playing at the exact same time. That's what I'm trying to get at here. But we will be keeping up with them every week. And of course, next week, I'll bring the winners and the losers for that one as well. Eastern Conference, Western Purple. That is London, Ontario. I finally said that right without messing up the phonetics of that. It was so weird for me to say. They're going to be taking on New York University. And Western Purple, they actually beat Horizon to get into the semifinals. New York University had a huge match against University of Toronto last week that went to game number 5, and New York University ended up doing a reverse sweep, winning 3 in a row to bring it into the semifinals for them. So congratulations to them. Then there's also going to be University of Ottawa versus University of Waterloo, and Waterloo beat Ryerson on stream last week, and Ottawa beat Carnegie Mellon, unfortunately dashing Carnegie Mellon's dreams as well in the playoff brackets. But going into stats onto this one, Waterloo Western Purple, they're coming out to have some of the best stats right now. Waterloo holding the least deaths and the most assists, with Shawner at 3 and Platoon at 61. Those respectively. Shawner having the only 3 deaths, and Platoon having 61 assists. And of course, Toronto is out. That means Waterloo currently holds the most kills as well, with INO1. It was actually held by somebody on Toronto, but since they are out, stats really don't matter at that point, so Waterloo is going to be claiming most kills. Again, INO1. He also has the highest gold per minute and the highest CS per minute, so INO1 is doing something right, getting those kills, getting the gold, and getting the CS. Of course, CS and gold per minute, that usually correlates somehow as well. And overall KDA, though, that does go over to Western Purple, so they are going to be quite the force wanting to hold that one up. They also hold the second, or at least 2 of the least death spots right below Shawner. That'd be the second and third, obviously, being 4 each for Julius and Kimona 1. So Waterloo, I mean, yeah, they have some impressive numbers being put up right now. Western Purple, though, again, overall KDA, overall team KDA for that region, that being, again, the Eastern. That is something that they would like to keep, obviously. Of course, those games, again, be played at separate times. And again, we're going to actually get to the games that are coming up this weekend. As you can see, was it that way down there? Upcoming games. We'll get to those in a moment, because there's not really much happening this weekend. Again, these times for the main 4 conferences, they're not quite set in stone. They have a lot of leeway. So again, we're working with what we can. Going over to the Western Conference, though, Simon Fraser University is going to be taking on UBC in the semifinals. Simon Fraser had a bye, so they actually don't have any stats to work with, but I don't think that's going to matter because they're a massive force to contend with right now, especially for UBC. UBC beat Cal Poly Pomona to get into this position in the semifinals, and then we have UCI versus UCSD. That is, of course, University of California, San Diego. And UCI beat Santa Barbara to get into the semifinals, while UCSD they beat Utah. UCSD kind of steamrolled Utah. There's not really much to say. The Tritons, they very much deserve the spot in the semifinals thus far, but they have a tall order, just like UBC does against UCI. UCI, before they took on Simon Fraser, were actually looking to be possibly the favorites in the West Conference, but Simon Fraser just knocked them down, and pretty handily too. So Simon Fraser, they're actually the ones to beat right now. But UCI, they have that extra week of practice, extra week of competitive play. That's something that Simon Fraser does not have. And again, I'm going to get into stats because the stats actually show that UBC has a big advantage right now. The top player, KDA, is at 66 for IE on UBC. And he also holds the most kills at 31 and the least deaths at 1. So IE for UBC is on fire right now. He, again, and that's something that UBC needs. These stats, I'm mentioning him because that's a big momentum push for that specific team. And especially if you're going against Simon Fraser, you want any sort of advantage you can get because, again, Simon Fraser, they're kind of a monster in the West Conference. Again, UCI were the ones to be looking at to win, but now Simon Fraser more than likely, again, after Simon Fraser just beat the crap out of UCI. But we all learn from mistakes. One of these teams is going to come back. We're going to see if UBC can come back because this is actually a rematch from last year. Last year in the Western Conference, it was UBC versus SFU in the finals. This time it's going to be in the semifinals. UBC, they definitely want some retribution, and they want to get to those finals and put away SFU. If they can do that, then I think they can actually beat whoever they're put up against. But again, it's going to be a tall order no matter who wins. And against between Simon Fraser and UBC, because UCI and UCSD, they're not looking too bad themselves. Going on to the North Conference, though, that's where a lot of the excitement is for, I guess, the mainstream Twitterverse. Every region does matter, of course, but Twitter, you guys love the North Conference, and there's a big reason why. You have a lot of big teams in there right now. Columbia College, they're undefeated. Lords only losing thus far to Columbia College. They do play in the semifinals coming up pretty soon. Columbia College, they beat my hometown of University of Cincinnati. I'm not hurt. It's okay. Lords did beat Bellevue, who Bellevue has actually been competing on the outside circuits and the Wichita Open. I believe. I think they were in the Wichita tournament, but they're definitely at the Grand View tournament, which I believe they took the bronze medal for that. Lords actually took the silver medal. So Lords and Bellevue, they're going to have a little bit of a rivalry here because, again, they've been kind of neck and neck outside of Collegiate League of Legends. Collegiate League of Legends. They're actually in the Amateur Circus League of Legends, just playing as a university. So Lords, it's going to be CC and Lords. CC and Lords. And again, Bellevue, kind of a rivalry that'll be continued on to next year. But Lords did come out on top this time. They're going to try to get a rematch against retribution against Columbia College for giving them their loss earlier in the season. Next one, though, Manitoba versus Maryville University. This is going to be an interesting one. So Manitoba, they beat Kansas State to get here. The thing is, Manitoba is undefeated, and if anyone checked out the bracketology episode, Manitoba, they're undefeated, but so far, just from on paper, they have yet to really prove themselves. Now, with that being said, they are still I think they 3-0'd Kansas State. I don't think Kansas State had a chance against Manitoba. Manitoba has something going for them. There's for certainty on that remark. But they haven't been up against Columbia College. They haven't been against Maryville. So this is more than likely, this semifinal against Maryville University, it's going to be the biggest challenge that Manitoba has faced thus far. Now, going on to Maryville University. They beat Miami University for this one. That was actually streamed at Miami University's Twitch channel. The thing is, Maryville used cat ears for jungler. Chody Walrus was not involved in those games, and I actually tweeted out to him. He said he was only used whenever he's needed. Compared him to I actually forget Faker's replacement or backup, second string in the mid lane for SKT a couple years back. My B on that one, but regardless. Cat Ears. He's been playing jungle. He was streaming earlier today. Played jungle there too. Cat God still is ADC. DeWolf's Claw still for mid lane. So I don't know what's going on at Maryville University, but they've shaken it up a little bit more. And so far it's working because they did beat Miami University. I think Miami took one game off of them and did make it into a series. But so far, the iteration of Maryville University, it is still strong, but it's not the championship material they once were, and they might just be hiding that or saving that for the finals, thinking it might be against Columbia College. We're going to find out, of course. Maryville versus Manitoba. That's going to be a good one, and it's really going to prove if Manitoba can stand up to the big teams and really solidify their name, or if Maryville University is going to smack them down. Tell them like, hey, come back next year. Even as our B team, we can still stand up to some of the best teams here. That's going to be really interesting. Manitoba actually hold the top player KDA for most kills at 23 and 33 on Kept, along with Kept having the least deaths at 2. I just said 2 numbers, and I only have one name there. That's my B on stats. I'm not going to go search for him right now, obviously. Also, they have the most assists for KBS, followed by another Manitoba player, SOI. So there is a lot of stats on Manitoba's roster right now, but again, they 3-0'd Kansas, which means they probably just steamrolled them. Lords, though, they still have the highest KDA for a team at 10.8. That's not as impressive as the regular season run, but it's still, they're standing on top of the North Conference as a team KDA, which is still pretty good for them. So obviously there's a lot to tell in the North. I mean, is Columbia College still the dominant force? Has Lords adapted, going to get their revenge, try to take a game at least off of Columbia College, something they haven't really done thus far. Manitoba undefeated streak actually justified. Can they need to beat Maryville to really prove that Manitoba is here to win everything, because again, because of the route that they had in the Swiss tournament of the regular season, their undefeated record is kind of underplayed, undervalued, and I know they don't like that. Obviously, I've seen them on Twitter. They don't like thinking that they've had an easier route. They don't like thinking that their 7-0 is or whatever record they had. I think it is 7-0 is not worth it. Yeah, obviously they want to. Actually, I think it's 6-0. Sorry. Yeah, they want to solidify their record. They want to solidify their school. Manitoba, they go against Maryville University, and of course, there's also the question: is Maryville University going to be, are they going to show up as true form? Are they going to stick with their backup, their second strings here? It's kind of a toss up there. I am anxious to see that one, though. We should be actually broadcasting both of these games in about 2 weeks. Not this weekend, but the weekend after that one. So stick around and stay tuned on Twitter for that. Of course, I'll be tweeting it. I'll give out Twitters for our CSL as well, because I'm trying not to say my name as much in this one, because I got feedback last week saying I say my name a little bit too much. So I'm just going to cut that one out. And of course, on the West, it's going to be exciting no matter what. Again, SFU versus UBC. I mean, again, a rivalry from last year that I'm really excited to see kind of conclude this year. But upcoming games, we only have one scheduled right now. And again, check out our Twitter. Saturday, but right now it's only at Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time. That is going to be Southwest Baptist versus Delaware. That is a TMO game, TMO Cup game. It is worth noting that Southwest Baptist is a scholarship school, but that's really all I have right now for the other games. There haven't been any scheduled right now. Again, the conferences we're not allowed to. I mean, the Big Ten, they're not here yet. They're not here to do the playoffs. Peach Belt Conference, I'm actually going to get to them. They start tomorrow. I don't think we're allowed to stream any of them either. So we only have the conferences, the 4 main conferences to stream. But again, their schedule has such a big leeway. Hard to schedule everything, especially when there's a finite number of teams now. It's not like in the Swiss where we had 50 teams per conference. Speaking of the Peach Belt brackets, don't think I forgot about them. It's actually going to be North Georgia versus Young Harrison, University of South Carolina Aiken versus Columbus State, Augusta University versus Georgia Southwest Hurricanes, that's GSW Hurricanes if you're looking at the brackets, and Georgia College versus Lander University. So those are the Peach Belt Conference brackets, the quarterfinals. And again, those start tomorrow. So good luck to everyone on that. And other than that, I kind of switch topics here. Talked about the Peach Belt brackets last, but whatever. I got to all the topics. Again, told you I was going to run a little bit over on this one. Not as much as I thought I was going to be, but either way, check us out on Twitter. My name is Joshua Fekes Quest. You can follow me at Fekes, Pheqes. Follow the Collegiate Star League at C Star League. And of course, if you just want Collegiate League of Legends material, CSL LOL, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/C Star League. And of course, if you want to go look at the VODs, the bracketology I mentioned earlier, any of the matches in the past week, any of the VODs for Ward Up or the Quad, you can go to our YouTube at youtube.com/C Star League as well. Want to give a shout out to Twitch. Thank you for allowing us to broadcast on here, and for just helping the collegiate community in general. We would not be here without Twitch. Go follow them on Twitter at twitter.com/Twitch and Facebook. You can also do that at facebook.com/Twitch. My name, once again, I think it's only the second or third time I've said it. It'll be all right. My name is Joshua Fegasquez. Thank you very much for joining me, and same time, same place next week, Friday, 6 o'clock Pacific Daylight Time. New guest, new topics. See you there, I hope.